I came from the mud. There's dirt on my hands.
Welcome to Build an Iconic Life podcast. I'm your host, Chris Whitehead, and this podcast is dedicated to help you build a life with zero regrets by focusing on how you have everything you need to stand up, stand out, and live life on your terms. Let's dive right in. Hey everybody, Chris Whitehead here with another episode of Build an Iconic Life, and I'm welcoming Chris McCarron. She's local, everybody, and she owns Beehive Realty as well as a co-op working space, and we're just going to... Oh, by the way, she wrote an awesome book. She signed it for me. It is Empower Your Inner Millionaire, and as authors do, and she also runs 2 podcasts. We'll talk about that. And as authors do, we sat here and signed books for one another. And I'm just going to tell you, it is so friggin' cool to have friends that have taken the time to write a book. It just impacts you differently because when you get to know somebody, not only do you get to know them as a person, but you get to distill the information that they've learned possibly over their entire lifetime. And it allows me to truly grow at a much faster pace. So look, if you don't have friends that have written books, that's okay. We can actually help you fix that. More importantly, you should go find books of people that you respect and subjects that you believe in, because you can trade their time for a little bit of money. You can trade their years and years and years of wisdom so that you can expand at a much greater rate. With that being said, Christine.
Yes.
Chris, welcome.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come. And we kind of did a little bit of a debrief before we started recording. Tell me how you began in business for yourself, what your idea is, and what it's evolved to now.
Okay, how much time do we have?
As much as you want.
I was working for someone else, as a lot of us have done in our lives. I was actually living in the UK, and things were, my little assignment was coming to an end there. I was going to have to go back. And I said, I just don't know what to do. I don't think I want to do this anymore. And my neighbor said, it's hard to figure out what you want to do when you're already doing something else. So why don't you just quit your job and, something will come to you. And I was like, okay.
Nobody's ever given me that advice once in my life.
It was pretty good, actually.
Okay.
It worked out all right.
All right.
So I quit my job and I went back to the States, and I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And, nothing was like popping into my head. So I kind of, in the back of my mind, I had this idea that I'd probably go back as a consultant to the company I had just left. And I found this course online. It was called Start Your Own Consulting Company. And so I said, well, I guess I'll take it. So I took that, and there was like this little quiz he gave us. And the last, there was these questions. So what do you do? What have you done for work? What do you do for fun? What are the parts, the components of the jobs you've had that you've most enjoyed? And if no matter what you did, you make $200,000 a year, what would you do? And I thought, well, this is the $1 million question right here. This is what I want to know. So I figured all that stuff out, and I really like honed it down. And when I was done, what I came up with was traveling and shopping. And so I, like, as a joke, I wrote this teacher thing. This was like an online class. And I was like, oh yeah, I figured out what I want to do. I'm going to be like an international shopper. Like, rich people will pay me to like fly around the world and buy them stuff.
It sounds cool.
Yeah. And he said, oh, that's a real job. It's called importing. I'm like, shit. So that's right. So I spent like, 8 years doing importing.
You really did it? That is awesome.
Yeah. So I did that. And
did you enjoy it?
I loved it.
Was it what you thought it was going to be?
No.
Okay.
Damn it. Because I want to go all different places, but then you get this product and people keep wanting it. You have to go to the same freaking country over and over and over again. Well, that is not. And then you're like packing boxes and going to trade shows, which I liked going to the wherever the trade show was, but like standing around.
Yeah.
Right. There's all this other shit that goes along with it that not so much fun. So unless you're willing to take that business and blow it into something that all you have to do is travel around the world and shop, which is like a whole nother thing. So I was like, it got a little old. So then I ran into a friend of mine who had just passed her real estate. She's like, oh my God, I just passed my real estate exam, blah, blah, blah. And that was 2008. I'm like, isn't this a bad time to get into real estate? She said, oh no, because she said, I'm doing rentals in Boston. We were living in Haverhill, Massachusetts at the time. She said, oh no, I'm doing rentals in Boston. So I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting. So I couldn't sleep that night. I was like, oh my God, that's what I want to do. So I'm a 10 quick start.
Yeah.
which if people heard the Justin Breen episode, they'll understand.
Yep.
So I like the next morning I called him like, Terry, do you think, would you be like, feel like I was copying you if I got into real estate too? She's like, no. I said, do you think your boss would hire me? She's like, oh, I'm sure he would. So I called him up. I got an interview with him. I hadn't taken my test yet. Went to Boston, interviewed with the guy, and he's like, okay, yep, I'll hire you. So I came home. He said, but I had a van. I had a big giant van that had the name of my company on it. And so he said, well, you got to have at least a 4-seater car. I'm like, okay. So on the way home from the interview, I stopped at the car dealership. I traded my car. They're like, oh, you can pick it up Wednesday. Okay. So I got till Wednesday to pass the real estate exam, got all that stuff done. Wednesday, picked up the car, went to work in Boston as a real estate agent.
How long did you do that?
I'm still doing it.
Not for the same company.
Oh God, no. I have my own Beehive Brokerage now. But
Okay.
so I did that. I worked with him for like 8 years, and then I left. He was like a boutique firm.
Okay.
And then I went to Remax, and then when I moved down here, I was like, do I want to join some other person's thing? I didn't want to.
You only have to do real estate 2 years to become a broker?
That used to be the case.
What is it now?
I think it's 3 or 5. Anyway, they keep.
But you had already gone far enough.
Oh, well, I had my broker's license after 2 years.
Oh, okay.
But I just didn't want to do all the other crap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
the business running part of it.
Right, exactly. And I also was not afraid, but not excited about the idea of like having other agents and having to, be responsible for their mistakes and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, you can make a lot of money. And you can help agents make a lot of money, but herding cats is herding cats no matter how you do it.
Exactly.
So you've kind of always been more of a solo person. Like you like to move fast.
I like to move fast.
As a trick question, I knew that because I'm a 9 quick start. So it's kind of like if I hear a good idea, and I really annoy people with this, like I will stop you in the middle, like we just move out the door, and I'm like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "I'm starting." Like that's a great idea. Because what I found with me, exponentially, there's a bell curve. Good idea. Don't take initiative, and you just go on, and it goes back into the universe. Right.
Yeah.
For me, that happens even faster. So what I found is if it really strikes my gut, it is time for me to take action because I will convince myself of 3 other really, really good things.
In the meantime.
Yeah. And any one of them is sustainable.
Yeah.
Have you found being a quick start that when you were younger, it used to frustrate you or scare you at all about finding the one thing that you were going to do?
I'm kind of the opposite.
Okay.
Like when people get a tattoo, I'm like, I would never get a tattoo because next week I won't like it. You know what I mean? Like I've always been more like, and I was even afraid to have kids because I was like, what if I don't like them? You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like I was just like, it's this permanence thing is a problem for me. I don't want to have the idea of doing one job like till you die it would kill me. So yeah. I always want to be churning. I always want to be doing new stuff. It's just all about like mental stimulation.
Yep.
And like doing something fun and challenging and interesting. And as soon as it's like,
you just lose interest and motivation.
It's terrible.
So
yeah. It's a blessing and a curse.
So this is where you and I might be a little bit different. So I'm a brooder. It sounds like what you did because it's coming from the same place. You taking action. Yeah. I brood because for many years I didn't think I could take action because of this circumstance or that circumstance or this commitment or blah 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 blah. When the truth was I was just being lazy or scared to move forward.
Well, it's scarcity mindset. That's all, right? I mean, it's just you just talk yourself out of something.
But that anxiety is the same of like I've always been aware that most things have a shelf life for me.
Yeah.
It's something I had to work on very hard because, and I tell stories from stage on this, like I was the 3/4 guy. Like I could do anything 3/4 of the way. But when it finally came to pushing me outside of my comfort zone, which is actually hard to do compared to I look at the landscape around me.
Yeah.
And that's how I justified it.
Yeah.
But I would get to that 3/4 point and then I would pull up again. And so it was so easy to move on. Yeah. And so in me, that created a fear of like, I don't think I'll ever find the thing. Truth be told, maturity helps a bit with that because you see patterns over time. Mm-hmm. But what you did to overcome it is you literally I'm just going to fall into it and embrace it and do whatever I want to do now.
Yeah.
And have you found that to be success peak to success peak to success peak, or have you ridden the entrepreneurial?
Well, I mean,
roller
define
coaster?
success, right? I mean, if you're
For
talking about
you,
financial
yeah.
success, I mean, I can't point you to like all kinds of shit I have accumulated. I can't even point you to like amazing tangible assets.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like the next fun thing, right? This is like this.
Yeah.
This is the next adventure, like
Yeah.
the next. Oh yeah. So, I mean, successful from my perspective, yeah, because I've had a great time, and like I've learned so much, and I've evolved so much, and I have so many like memories and experiences and awesome stuff. But now at 60, I'm finally ready to say, okay, I would like to accumulate some money.
Oh, cool. Cool.
So now I'm working on that.
So I started doing that at 20. Well, I started working at 16, but I really started when I started my business at 24, because from 22 to 24, I was working in corporate, and I was like, it doesn't matter how hard I work. They pay me the same no matter what. And that was not incentivizing to me on any level.
Right.
So I jump in and I start trying to make money, and the harder I worked, the less I made. And it was the weirdest thing ever. I found, and we were talking about this earlier, I found it was actually the personal development, the mindset that was holding me back. It wasn't the work ethic.
Yeah.
And so I've spent 30 years in personal development in one form or another. And that is my greatest gift to myself. Because it pays dividends. Maybe you can relate to this. I'm a very confident person, but I'm also fairly realistic about like my flaws and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I just watch those thoughts flow down the river now, because why attach to it, right? It also comes back. My river must be kind of small. But there are a lot of people in the world that are very anxious, and they're very fearful.
Yeah.
I don't tend to be a very fearful person, and that's what personal development has helped me with a lot.
Let me ask you this, though, because people say to me, oh, aren't you afraid to travel by yourself? Aren't you afraid to do this? Aren't you afraid to do that? No, I'm afraid of waking up at 97 years old in my bed and saying, gee, I wish I would have done something.
Yeah.
I wish I regret, right? I have a fear of regretting stuff, right?
Yeah.
I have FOMO. I'm not, it's a different kind of fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like that. Oh, what if somebody shoots me? What if I get, abducted, or what if I get COVID or some stupid crap like that? It's not that kind of fear. It's just like are you going to regret this if you don't do it? Yeah. So that's my fear. Do you have like a sort of a similar, no fear?
Oh, no, very much so. I mean, so I was married living in Virginia with a kid in 2006 to 2009, and I shut my business down in 2009 and moved 1,000 miles away up here to restart myself. And I have my own reasons. I don't want to get into it now because it's your show, but but it was me hitting my head on a glass ceiling. I was a little prince in a little town because I had, owned a business and had worked really hard, and my employees looked up to me, sort of, not really. And I realized none of that was a purpose that I aspired to. Like, it was great, but boring. And so I was playing a lot of golf. I was getting really good at it. And then I tried to play the ESPN Classic, and that didn't work. And so I realized, at 34 years old, you're probably not going to be a pro golfer. And so I started asking myself, like, what is this? Is this it? Is making money it? And going on vacations or not? And living this, like, between families and da-da-da-da-da. And I said, no, I'm scared to death of living a life that was meaningless to me.
Exactly.
And so one of my little brothers had a friend that made a bumper sticker, and the sticker said the word adventure on it with a question mark on the end. And I put it on my Dell laptop, and every time I opened it, I would look at it and I would go, what is the adventure? What is going to be the next thing? And then, I don't know about you, Chris, but I just kind of cut the cord that was holding me and just fell. That hurt a lot. It was kind of like turning from Superman back into Clark Kent when he gave his power away to be with Lois Lane and going to the shiny diner and those rednecks beat his ass. Like, I came up here and I got throttled for a good 5 or 6 years. But it was actually just a growth period. I was the first time I was ever on my own. It was the first time I'd ever committed to starting over with a real mindset of growth versus like, I'll just follow along. And I'm 35, but I'm probably emotionally as mature as a 25-year-old. And so everything started kicking. I started just kicking. The one cool thing about people like you and me is we don't mind giving it effort once we know what to give effort to.
Right.
And I will stay up 48 hours straight because I don't think about it.
Yeah. Because you're fired up. You're having fun. It's great. It's fun. It's exciting.
And once I found I was my problem, I was like, hallelujah. Like, I can do something about that.
Exactly.
Now, the frustrating part is then I would go do it, and then I would get the same results. And so I started equating it to the golf swing. There are people that break the golf swing down to 7 steps, 17 steps, all sorts of stuff. Once you play golf long enough and you can get into a slot, let's say you go up to a golf ball and you start slicing it or shanking it. Shanking it's hitting it off the round part of the hosel or off the boot, that part of the boot, right? Well, all of a sudden you start checking, am I coming back this way? Am I holding the club this way, this way? Yeah. You might just be a quarter of an inch or a half of an inch too close to the ball. Yeah. And so what I realized in my personal development is I was taking the old Chris mindset and taking every problem that I used to be afraid of and implementing it into every new step that I was taking. I was like, I'm going to worry myself into a heart attack. And that's when I started really focusing on transcendental meditation, the ability to calm my circulatory system down, the ability to let the mud settle and the water get clear again. And when you ask God for patience, most of us don't realize that means you're going to get things that create you to become a patient person, which is called pain.
Force you to get
but that's patient. So I got to a place where financially I couldn't move off of a couch. I'd made some bad decisions, and I had to sit there and admit that it was my choice. And somehow inside of me, it didn't break me. It actually forged a strong thing in me. And now that I can look back, we've had more success and everything. I can look back and I say, the only thing I'm proud about is I never quit. That's what I'm proud about. And you know what? And I bet this is about you too. I never actually considered quitting. I just was like, this sucks so bad. Well, go get a job. What is that? I don't know. I don't understand what you're like. I can't quit on my dream. I can't quit on me. It's just, I need help. See, do you have any money? No, but I'll work really hard. So that's what people do to get a job. No, that's not an answer. So I was unreasonable about me and my desire. And that is actually what I believe and you're going to read this in the book. I think when people take this step into entrepreneurship, it's like, you need to understand you're making a lifestyle choice.
Oh yeah.
You're not just making a financial choice. Like, and I equate it to, she's a jealous mistress. If you don't pay attention to her, she's going to let you know. And that's the crazy thing, because once you start paying too much attention to the business, then the other things in your life can start to unravel. So have you experienced some of that imbalance being a quick start?
Yeah, I'm probably still a little bit out of balance.
Do you enjoy it? Some people don't give crap.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not like stressed out of balance, but just like I could, but see, like what's fun, right? I mean, my business is fun. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, but I also like dance and travel. And so maybe I'm not out of balance, but I think I could.
Now that I think about it.
I'm perfectly in balance. Well, I mean, I do all the stuff, like all the different like fitness and, so yeah, it's just, it all revolves around work, sort of. Do you know what I mean?
Like very much so.
Right. So that's the core, and then everything else has to weave its way in there so that it all works. But yeah, I mean, I guess what's my job? My job is to have fun. My job is to enjoy my life. My job is to be as good and but success is just, it's your validation. But like once, for example, my co-working space, once that becomes really successful, it's gone. I'm selling that bad boy. You know what I mean? Like that's the way it's going to work, because then I'm on to the next big thing and the next. So, talk about money. It's because whenever I get money, I try to like get rid of it as fast as I can. Like, what can I invest in? What can I do?
What's the new
thing that I can do? Yeah.
Hoarding money is the stupidest thing that we can do.
Exactly. That's what somebody said to me one time. Money is a liquid asset.
Yes.
It has to flow.
Yes.
It flows in, it flows out. It flows in, it flows out. Yeah, exactly. So like I'm always like, ooh, I get rid of that. And then when it comes back, it'll be a tidal wave. Okay, come on. So yeah.
Yeah, and there's absolutely nothing. And I used to be the opposite. There's also good debt and bad debt.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a way to, and some of the wealthiest people on earth are people that know how to leverage good debt. And you're talking about it right now, investments. And here's the cool thing. Those of us that are afraid of ever, the cool thing is when we're willing to take the risk and do the things. So if we actually learn the principles and the laws, we have a very good chance of actually making that happen, because we won't sit there and lick our wounds too long, because we're like, what does that do for us? I got this to do now. I've got a new idea tomorrow. My biggest fear is not having a good idea.
I can help you. I've got a lot of good ideas.
But you know, like, so
Yeah.
I thought when I was in my like 18 to 20, I thought I was depressed. So I was a baseball player. I went to college at 17. I was supposed to play college ball, ended up getting tendonitis in my shoulder.
Oh.
And so I took a crow hop in center field, threw the ball, and it dribbled to second base. And I was like, that's probably not going to work. So I didn't have any, and that was my whole life, was I was going to play pro ball.
Yeah.
So then I don't have anything. So I walked around going, man, I'm really depressed. I was bored, Chris.
Yeah.
That's all it was, is I was bored to death.
Exactly.
And once I met a philosophy major, and he started talking all this esoteric, and I was like, I like you. And so we just started hanging out, and it's these late night conversations, and my mind it's like, oh, I need to find more of that. And I was talking to Justin about this. My problem was that I wasn't finding people that were like me.
Yeah.
So I would go talk to people, and they go, you're a little weird. And they wouldn't necessarily say it, but I could feel the energy coming off of them. And so I started thinking I was weird after a while. But when I started getting around people like you, I'm like, I love my life. And it's just because the energy that flows from it. And it's like, what would happen if 100 of us got together like this and made a choice to move in the same
The
direction?
room would probably explode, for one thing.
But I want it. I want it because I've seen the power of it.
Yeah.
I've been a part of the power of it.
Oh, and you can feel it, right? It's a visceral feeling that you're like, oh my God, like all the ideas and all the things, and you're just like, whoa. Yeah, it's amazing.
And then we need like one integrator over in the corner that says, no, 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 do that one. And we go, yay! And we all go do that.
Right, exactly. We all run in the same direction. Yes. Otherwise, like everybody's like hitting the wall by themselves, and there's a big empty space in the middle.
There's a meme going around where it says visionary and integrator, and the integrator is this kid, and he's kind of standing like this, and the visionary has him by the collar. He's screaming in his ear at the top of his lungs. It's like, yeah, that's kind of how that works. But I really didn't. I thought, oh, if I join this sports team, I must be like them. If I join drama, I must be like them. If I sing, I must be like them. If I do academics, if I do the fraternity, if I do, and it was almost like Dustin Hoffman did a movie a long time ago in '77 called Little Big Man. Have you ever seen it?
Long time ago. I can't remember.
So like it's he is an Indian coming into the white man's world, and like he tries to be a snake oil salesman, then he tries to be a Bible salesman, then the long story short is he ends up living like to 105 or something, and as he's walking back again with nothing on again except the bottom, he talks, I'm just a human. He's like, I had all these experiences to learn, I'm just human. And that was kind of my experience. I was trying so hard to fit in and to be what my parents and society wanted me to be, that the more that I tried to push me into that mold, the more it hurt. And when we were growing up, like if you didn't go to college and finish college and get a corporate job, like you were a bum. That's what was at least told in my head.
Well, because this is what, I forget who said this to me, if it was Brian Tracy or, somebody like that. It's like, we're emulating the wrong percentage of people, right? Like if you figure you're in the top at least 5%, and that's being ungenerous. So if you're in the top 5% of thinkers and people and stuff like that, but we're emulating the other 95%, right? Oh, why can't I fit in? You don't want to fit in with those people. You got to get rid of all that fluff and find the 1 or 5 people in 100 that are going to be able to, excite you and get your little things racing in your brain and stuff. And that's, the lowest common denominator, right? You're trying to emulate the lowest common denominator. It's not very invigorating.
No, and it's the ugly duckling syndrome. Everybody's pointing at you, making fun of you, and you just haven't turned into a swan yet. Yeah. And the truth is, I believe, like, that's what the flame inside of Iconic is about. It's like everybody has that flame in them, and I love stoking that fire. Yeah. What I found is that I can stoke that fire, but it's not my job to keep it going. And I used to spend way too much time giving everybody my fire with no ROI. And there's nothing wrong with that. I believe in the law of reciprocity. I believe in the law of go-giving. But at the same time, I'm not going to fund your addiction. I'm not going to fund you to abuse and use people, whatever. And my problem was I was codependent. Here, you want my shirt? Yeah. You've already had 8 of them, but yeah, take this one too, because apparently I don't need it. And when I started realizing that, hey, I am good enough the way that I am, and I became self-aware a little bit more, I started finding people that I like, oh, we jive. And the shitty thing is I already knew it, but I just wish I'd have paid attention, because when I get around the people, I get energized. I'm an introvert, believe it or not. I get all of my energy by being alone. Yeah. But it's crazy when I meet the right people. It's like I become the craziest extrovert on the planet, because it's like, oh, we're playing in the sandbox. I'm so happy. Yeah. And I really want other people to realize that, because when you do get in a room of 10, 20, 100 people that are all focused energetically on the same general idea.
Or even just positive.
I've never felt anything better on earth. And I felt it when I used to go to church. Yeah. And everybody starts singing. Just the harmony of the song. And it's like, I don't know why I feel good, but I feel like my heart just grew an extra size bigger, kind of thing, you know? Yeah. And I think that's one of the shittiest parts about COVID is it really ripped everybody apart from doing that. And it seems like now everybody just wants to do individual virtual kind of stuff. And I really want to see people like, that's the co-op. Yeah. How cool is it to have 10 different businesses in there and everybody's doing something different, but they're kind of, hey, you want a cup of coffee? And yeah, what are you doing? What are you doing? The opportunities are endless. And then you have a big room where people can do presentations. Your prices are extremely reasonable. Yeah. Let me ask you. Okay, so you're a realtor. You help women with investing. And I just think I'm going to move from Boston and start a co-working space, because that's what you always wanted to do. Where'd that come from?
Yeah, I wish I had a great answer for that. People are just like, because they don't get me, you know. Uh-huh. So this is it. I had a house across the street from the beach, beautiful home in Revere Beach.
Yeah.
Every morning, get up, walk on the beach. It's so nice. And I was working on it, fixing it up. I turned it into a 2-family. I was getting income from the other side, you know, no bills. Everything's great. I was on a phone with a friend. I said, oh my God, I'm almost finished with this place. I literally just have to paint 2 more doors and everything's finished.
That's the kiss of death.
Right? An hour later, my phone rings. Hi. You know, I'm so-and-so, blah, blah. I was wondering if you'd like to sell your house. I'm like, damn it. So I said, not really, but you can buy me lunch and we'll talk about it. So that's what happens. It was somebody so I had the lot that the house was on, and there were 3 unbuildable lots behind. And this guy bought the place next door, wanted to expand, needed the parking. So these lots are useless to everyone else, but they have value to him.
He can park on them? He can put parking on them?
Yeah.
Okay. You just can't build on them.
Can't build.
Okay.
He could put parking, no problem. Because it was landlocked.
Okay.
You could build on it, but you have to tear my house down or buy the guy's house next door. Anyway, so we sit down. I give him a price, which, I mean, I don't care if I sell the place, right?
You
so,
gave him a price.
Yeah, I gave him a price. I'm like, dude, here's the price. And he's like, okay, that seems reasonable. I'm like, shit, it should have been higher. But yeah, so we reached an agreement. I'm like, all right. But before I even met with him, I said, so if I sell my place, what am I going to do? So because part of it was an investment. So I had this 1031 opportunity. So I'm looking, I said, okay. I go online. I'm like, what would I do? So I said, I don't think it's a great time to buy residential. I'm going to look for commercial. So commercial, this place pops up in Tyngsboro. Now, before, like 6 months earlier, I would have been like, Tyngsboro, where the hell's that?
Yeah.
I just sold 3 houses in Tyngsboro.
Yeah.
What are the chances, right? So I'm like, oh, Tyngsboro. Okay. And so I start looking, and there's this like, good size thing, great price. I'm like, okay, I want it. So I did. I bought that, and I, fixed it up. But
What was it before you bought it?
It was a mess. It was, I think, so right before I bought it, the developer who had bought the building and condoed it was just sitting there with his wife and a whole bunch of plans and equipment and stuff like it. It was just a big mess of underutilized space. And before that, I think it was some kind of like a telecom or something like that company.
Okay.
But but right in the MLS, the agent had said would make an excellent WeWork style co-working space. And when I read that, all the little hairs on the back of my neck stood up, and I said, "Ooh, that would be fun."
So you had literally never thought about doing it until you read that, and the hairs went up on the back here. That is a quick start if I've ever heard one. Hey, we're going to Mars. Shit, yeah, that sounds like a plan.
Let's do it.
Where do you buy those helmets?
Yeah. So when people ask me, I'm like, well, there was COVID, I was working at home, and I just wanted that connection. That is bullshit. Let me tell you, that is just something I tell people because they can relate to it.
Mm-hmm.
If they cannot relate to this idea of like, well, I had this money and I didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, and it's better than paying capital gains.
Right,
So,
exactly. Yeah. That was my option. So, okay.
So tell everybody about how you help women with investing.
My real estate investing career was a whole lot of starting stuff and not knowing what in the hell I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I've made every single mistake. The very first investment property that I bought, I was 23 years old and I was married at that time. I conned my husband, or I convinced him what a great idea it would be for us to get involved in real estate investing. And so we bought this 3-family in Lawrence, Massachusetts at the top of the market, the absolute top of the market. And well, not the current top, but the top at the time. And so the day after we bought it, it started going down. We had already split up at that point. We were already we were already splitting up.
A house is not a puppy, and a puppy's not a good thing to buy either.
I know, right? And so I didn't know. I didn't have my own agent, right? I didn't have anybody represent me. I didn't have my own attorney. I didn't have my own anything. I never heard of an estoppel certificate. So I get ownership of the place. I go check it out. We didn't have a walkthrough. I go check it out.
You didn't have a walkthrough?
No.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah. So like I said,
hey, look, you're here. That's all that matters.
I survived.
You survived it,
right? The guy who sold me the house had taken the 2 tenants who were paying and put them in a different place that he owned, and left me with the 1 tenant who wasn't paying. And I was like, oh, she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have to rent this one, but I'm going to pay. Like every idiotic landlord mistake that you ever could make, I made them all. And so, I would hate for someone else to have to do that. So yeah, and I just through the years made other mistakes, and every time it was like a great learning experience. And so I said, well, why don't I put all these really unpleasant learning experiences into a book? And there it is.
Empower Your Inner Millionaire, a woman's guide to financial freedom through real estate investing. My book is 26 chapters, I believe, of the exact same thing. Here's everything that I should have known. It would have helped, and I really hope it helps you, because they were painful lessons.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that I appreciate about being older. There aren't a whole lot of things, but
I appreciate all kinds of stuff.
But one of the things that I appreciate is there are a lot of people that now they're an agency and they're 27 years old and they can help you make millions of dollars, or they can help you get followers and you look and they have 2. Wisdom from people that have done something for a long period of time. I can appreciate the hell out of that now. Yeah. When we were younger, it didn't seem like there was as much of that around locally. It seemed like you had to go to the seminar, buy the cassette tapes, and not 8-track, but buy the tapes. It was just a money grab the whole way. I appreciate the fact that the internet gave us the freedom as a people to do even podcasting.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have 2.
Yeah.
I have 1. My wife has 2, 3, 4. I don't know. She and Lisa are doing some number of them, but we're literally beginning to overtake the media for the communication channels.
Thank God.
And it allows for intelligent people that have taken the time to go, it doesn't hurt to write about this anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and put it to really help people expand quickly. And there was a statistic I heard a year ago that by the year 2050, information will double every 3 days.
Wow.
Now imagine evolutionarily, we're not equipped to. Neural pathways have to be formed, and then they become ruts because you do a habit. Yeah. There's not enough time to create habits in a 3-day period of time. So the only way that I can understand is to distill things into singularity points so that it can lock in to move forward to the next move. And I'm grateful that you're doing it, because there are a lot of people that by the time they figure it out, they're not interested in going back to help the next person.
Yeah.
What is your motivation for helping the other people? I know what mine is, but
It just feels good. I mean, I don't know how to make it any more like scientific.
you literally just followed that. It's my bliss.
Sorry.
It's not boring, because so I just do what feels right to me too. That's one of the cool things about being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It's also one of the things that pisses my wife off the most. I'm going left, and she's like, "No, we're going right." And I'm like, "I've already gone." She's like, "I'm
Catch
really
you later.
yeah." But that ability to be free, the ability to make my own mind up, the ability to make my own mistakes, the ability to only hold me accountable for those things, that became very simplified to me, because I was living in a world where I played some victimhood for a while, and I realized it didn't serve me, and it actually didn't serve anybody that gave my word to. How long have you been helping women with real estate?
Well, I mean, I've been as a broker or as a real estate agent.
The evolution of that.
Yeah,
that's how you probably began, right?
That's how I started. Yeah, and that's how I got hooked on it. I think because in the beginning, right, I was doing rentals, which is a lot of fun. Driving around, you going. I mean, so tenants obviously have no incentive at all to rent their place, and you walk into a lot of really disgusting homes. But every so often, someone would come along with like, "Oh, I want to either rent or buy," and I'm like, "You want to buy? Let's figure out." And then just like negotiating that, and then like 5 years later, seeing how different their life is, because I managed to tell them, to sell them on the idea of buying a three-family instead of a condo, like, look, it's the same, everything, but you're going to be in such, and now like, yeah, my upstairs tenants pay for my Mercedes, and my downstairs tenants pay the mortgage, and I still have a place to live, and right, and you just see how different people's lives are because you were able to help them to make a really great decision early enough. And I just want, before I forget, I want to say this about real estate too. Like, I was on a panel one time of real estate people, and I was the only one who'd ever been through a downturn. Right? I mean, when you're taking real estate advice, take it from someone who knows that there isn't something other than an upcycle. Because I'm hearing all this, I just did this, and I'm like, yeah, but what if it goes down? Well, it's not going to go down. Of course it's going to go down, right. You moron. Like it always goes down eventually. But yeah, it's like if your whole strategy relies upon real estate always going up, like stocks. So yeah, of course I can make $1 million in the stock market if everything I buy goes up.
Right.
It doesn't always work that way. So yes. Anyway, yeah, just got hooked on that really great feeling of seeing people's lives be totally different. Because
wait, but you said you were the only person on a real estate panel that had not been through a downturn. Was that the point you were trying to make? Well, it was just that it's not always
that when you were talking about like taking advice from people, and this person's 27 years old and they're an expert. Yeah, they're an expert because that little tiny window of time, that the strategy that you could be in real estate for 10 years.
That's about the cycle.
Right? That's a normal cycle, but because of COVID, it got extended. So right from 2008, you could have been in real estate from 2008 and a half and just been on this steady
and still thinking
and still think that real estate can never go down. And so if you're taking advice from people that haven't experienced it all, and they don't know how to tell where we are in the market, and they don't know what's a good move and what isn't a good move and all that kind of stuff, then just evaluate that. Just like when you're taking that advice.
It's one of the things that I'm really grateful for. So we have we have a great team of people around us that like 20, 30 years in real estate and 20, 30 years in investing. And like you have made all of the mistakes. And it's like you put these people into a room together and you say, I have an idea. And they go, well, here's where we are. And here's where everybody thinks we are. Here's what I also know because of here we are. There is always a way to make money here. And there is always a way to make money here, but the decisions are different. And usually it's like Warren Buffett says, watch the masses and do the opposite.
Exactly. That's such great advice.
And I learned that in Virginia because we were investing in real estate and I was doing flips for first-time home buyers. And then Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac decided they're not going to give loans to anybody anymore. And it's that was an interesting time. And the house turned from a construction loan interest-only payment into a full-blown mortgage because that's what they do. And but I didn't have anybody to talk to. I had foreclosure.com. We had paid them $6,000 to read a book to me, because that's what my wife needed in order to take the plunge. I was like, we don't need a book. But it did allow us to put a team together. We had a lawyer, an assessor, and realtor.
Yeah.
But if people just take the time to do rudimentary research, it's actually out there now.
Yeah.
And that's really strange because I still run into it. And this sounds like every older person in the world. I remember when
I was young.
Well, the only information we really had access to was Britannica, encyclopedias,
right,
what our parents said, and whatever was said at the school.
Yeah. Which is nothing helpful.
We didn't have Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
No.
I'm lucky enough, I'm 50, so I'm lucky enough to have, right in 1995-ish, the internet was really starting to kick in, and so information was starting to proliferate. But I remember even just 6 years ago, people would ask me a question, and the response I would give them is the snapshot of the Google response. You can go research that now, and you don't have to waste my time asking me that question. But people still they want to be spoon fed, and my concern. Well, it's not really a concern. You get what you give, and if that's what you want to give, then you deserve what you get, because the information is out there. All the answers in the world are here now.
Yeah.
We just have to learn how to ask the right questions.
Exactly.
So, you coach real estate investing. You have a co-working space that you're actively looking for tenants or people to come in, and they have to, I'm assuming they have to jive, like, are you hand selecting the people?
I mean, they can't be assholes.
Yes.
But
nobody thinks they are.
I know.
Well, there are a few.
But the way I feel about the space is that it allows people to self-select. Okay. So you were talking about before, we were talking about feng shui. So the whole space is like feng shui. It's got like certain things. It's like a vibe. It's not a corporate vibe.
Cool.
So if you're into like the corporate thing and you're like a stuffed shirt, you're not going to like it.
Yeah.
I had somebody tell me, well, I can get the same rent for some place that's newer and more modern. I'm like, go. Absolutely. I said, well, that seems like a great decision for you. Get the fuck out of my office.
Yeah, no resistance here.
Right, exactly. And so, some people come through and they're like, oh, okay. Other people are like, oh, I love it here. The vibe is so great and it's so good. I feel like those are the people, those are my people. And so I guess I feel like I'm only attracting the good people, and anybody who isn't a good people is just going to just kind of naturally be repelled by my weirdness.
I love that. What do you feel is the next thing coming for you?
Well, so the next thing for me is I want to get on my 10-year plan. So there's one paragraph in that book, which is the 10-year plan.
Okay.
And I know about it, and I haven't done it yet. But basically, the way it works is every year for 10 years, you buy a house and you get a 10-year mortgage on it. And every 10 years, you just refinance it, and that's your tax-free income, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's a loan, you don't pay any taxes on it. And so so right now I've sold everything, and it's all in my little beautiful space in Tyngsboro. But this year I need to buy 2 more places to stay on track, and they have to be worth at least $300,000, because I want at least $240,000 a year to be able to just, do my thing. Because of course there'll be other money coming in or whatever. So that's my next thing, is to not just do it, but to write the book about it, because I want to write the book. I'm ready to write the book.
But you're going to do it first.
The book started. I'm ready to write the book, but who's going to believe me if I'm not even doing it? So I'm like, all right, I'll do it. And I'm like, I got to find the time to do it. But then, once I do it, then that's my whole thing. I want to write about it. I want to talk about it. I want to tour the country telling everybody about it, because it's just such an easy, fun, awesome plan. And I feel like everybody could do it if they just only knew about it.
What is your greatest dream to date? Like the thing that you even sometimes are a little scared to say, yeah, that's what I really want to do.
So have you done this? Have you written your obituary?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. So when I wrote my obituary, and you start to think about, well, how do I want to be remembered, and what do I want people to say about me and stuff like that. It's a lot about giving money, but also I want to go. I don't know why I've always wanted to do this. It's kind of a weird thing. But I want to go like into the prisons, and I want to talk to women who are incarcerated, who think that everything's been done to them and they're under somebody's heel, and you know what I mean? Like life sucks, and whatever. Everybody's, got the power but me. And I want to find the couple people there who don't believe that, and just like, and
flourish them
and have them be like, it's called the in crowd. Okay. So there's the incarcerated people, and then there's the people on the outside who are willing to fund their first purchase. So, you know what I mean? It's like a syndication, and the people who are, getting, so do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's where they're going to get the loan from. It's
Yeah.
going to be from this group of people. Yeah. And then they're going to be able to create their place, and they'll have mentors to help them do it. And then they'll have a place to live for their family, and it'll be an investment property. And then, they'll have to then give back and be part of the next. So that's my thing that also gives me goosebumps.
I think that is absolutely amazing. So part of me, even speaking on stages now, I was in Waynesboro, Virginia, which you're not supposed to know where that is, but it's close to where I went to college. And I'm walking into a Walmart, and there's a guy outside with a table and collecting donations. So I put a $5 bill in there, and I don't know why, I just felt to strike up a conversation with him. And he was collecting money for the halfway house. And these men are being transitioned back into the world after like damaging themselves, damaging other people, all sorts of stuff. And we struck up a long enough conversation that he said, do you want to come and speak to everybody? And I said, yeah. And at the time I still owned a remodeling company. So a lot of the guys that worked for me
had been there
going through this kind of stuff. And so a lot of my talking to them was how to like get up in the morning, make your bed, brush your teeth, come to work with joy, like give it all you've got. I promise you I will take care of you, but you have to initiate it, all that kind of stuff. So to me, this was just a natural extension of something I'd already been doing inside of my company. And the name of my business at the time was WPR. And that stood for Whitehead Painting and Restoration. And what I laughed about with my wife at the time is I think the restoration part has a lot more to do with the guys that are coming through my door than it does the work that we do. Because I was like a big brother to everybody. And I went there and I talked to these guys for 2 hours. And at the end of it, I just don't think they had received that kind of energy before. And they were asking me questions, and some of them only had 2 teeth, but it didn't friggin' matter. Yeah. But I realized the it factor had turned on in them for a moment. And so I so resonate with what you're saying, because it's why that flame is there. Man, when I get to see that in somebody, that reminds me of divinity. It reminds me of what makes us special. I see it in animals too. Like it's not exclusive just to humans, but just to see something be what it actually is, not the stuff that's been on it. And you want to help people do that. And you actually have the tools as well as potentially the people, and you can kind of step back and put the team together.
Yeah.
When are you going to start that? When's your 10-year?
It's interesting because there's no reason not to start it now. You know what I mean? It would just be stupid excuses I could give you of why I didn't start it last week. So, let's give it a deadline, shall we?
So I asked. It's one of the things that I love about people like us getting together. It's like, I'm not going to hold you to your word, but I promise you will. But yeah, give it a deadline. What would you say? When are you going to start?
Can I wait till fall?
Of course you can.
Okay.
You can do whatever you want. What I have found is we who get together that hold each other accountable just because we know we're going to get together. Like when I was in that other organization, I was going to fly down to Dallas. Well, I'd made some commitments last month. Damn straight, I'm not going to show up with egg on my face.
Exactly. Say, I didn't actually get around to that.
Yeah, there's a little.
Right.
There's a competitive streak in me.
Of course, you couldn't be successful, I don't think, if you didn't have like some amount of like that. Not that you have to be better than that, but you at least have to be better than yourself. I
don't want to see the disappointment in your eyes, or that I let you down on your goal because I didn't do it. So the competition to me became very healthy. Like, I'm going to go and I'm going to show up, and I've lost 40 pounds like I said I was going to do. And I don't have to talk about it. But it's the same thing I watch with our kids. Like, Robin would make fun of this, not in a bad way, but I put my book pack in a certain place. Jonah puts his book back in a certain place. I put my keys and he puts his keys. And it's like, I leave my clothes and he leaves, eventually it's like, he's following you. And it's like, so clean your act up. And it's like, yes, you got it.
Yeah.
It's just a way for us to hold each other low key accountable to accomplishing our own goals. Because for me, I don't care whether you do it or not.
Right.
But if it's what makes you happy, oh, hell yes, I want to see you do that, because the energy that I receive from you being who you like. I had to take a nap before you got here. Not because you just didn't sleep well last night. It's like you walk in and it's like, dude, you're better than a cup of coffee. I love this. And so people like that should get together, should hang out, should do more together, and should support one another in the process. One of the things that upsets me the most is I'll see small business owners go shop at Walmart instead of shop at their friend's store. I'll see people that are business owners go ask their friends for a discount. Man, do you know how hard it was for that person to start that business and you're asking for a discount? In fact, pay the full price, because what you give will come back to you.
Exactly. Well, it's scarcity mindset again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
What would you say? Because this was a challenge to me. If you can't afford first class, would you pay for it anyway?
Is it important to me to have it? I mean, what's going to be like?
I'm talking about the mindset. So first class can be a metaphor for, I can't afford to join the group. I can't afford to move across the country. I can't afford to go on that vacation. I can't.
It's funny. I'm part of a mastermind group on Sunday morning, and one of the women was talking about, we had this woman came and spoke to our office, and it was really interesting, and she's really good, and she's like a coach, and she helps people make money, and like blah 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 blah. And I said, oh, that's interesting. You're gonna work with her? What did you think she said?
I can't afford her.
I can't afford it. I said, you hear that, right? I said, you understand that you can't afford to work with someone who's going to help you make more money? Is that like, did
That's probably why you're not going to make more money. That's probably why you can't afford her.
Exactly. So like, there's the difference between like going into debt to go in first class, and the difference between saying, just thinking, oh, I can't afford to like do this advertising I know I need to do, and I can't afford to do this thing, and that's there. It's different, right? It's that I'm an investment. My work is an investment. Everything I do into my business is an investment. When you come to my office, you'll see that there were some walls that had wallpaper. Okay, this is a sad story. I'll try not to make it take too long. All right, it was my first commercial venture.
Okay.
So I get into this space and I'm like, oh, this wallpaper is horrible. Plus, when I ripped off the carpet that was, acting as a baseboard trim, when I ripped that off, all the wallpaper curled up. So I'm like, okay, I got to get rid of this wallpaper. So I'm residential mindset. I'm like, I'll just rent a steamer. Okay, I rent the steamer. This wallpaper, I don't know. They put it on with construction adhesive.
Super glue.
Not like real life construction. Ripping the drywall right off the wall. The steamer was a joke. And I'm like, oh, this really sucks. So now I've got these walls that have these holes in them and all this crap. And I'm like, what the hell? I got to fix these walls. Because, 29 rooms, I think I'm going to do it myself. That was the beginning of, talk about scarcity mindset. I painted one room. I'm like, okay, only 28 plus the hallways to go. And I'm like, yeah, right. You need help. But anyway, so now all the rooms that used to have wallpaper, they now have Venetian plaster. Do you know Venetian plaster? Oh, it's so beautiful. Mm-hmm. So if you never heard of Venetian plaster, you take plaster, you put like marble dust in it, and then you trowel it and trowel it and trowel it. He puts like 5-7 coats of plaster with like a texture, and then when it's all done, he puts wax, and it looks like marble. It's the most beautiful walls. Now, I went from thinking that I'm going to paint the whole place myself to like hiring somebody to do Venetian plaster, which is not cheap, right? That mindset shift is essential to allow more money to flow into your life, right? If I could have sat there and painted that place because I'm like, every day you're screwing around painting these friggin' walls is a day you're not renting an office. You know what I mean? Like, how many days is it going to take you versus getting somebody in here to pay you to sit here? It's like, blah! And you see that all the time, right? I'm sure you see that all the time when you're trying to coach somebody and you're just like, can you not see that if you could just get beyond this limiting belief that the whole world is going to explode for you? Yeah.
It's the it's the greatest joy and the bane of what I do. So my first core value is integrity. That doesn't just mean be good for your word. It means being whole. That's integrous, right?
Yeah.
Anything outside of integrity is like a nail in a tire and the air is just whooshing out of it. So it doesn't matter how much air you put in, it just keeps going out. It's a waste of time. My second is information. Information is communication because I've identified it's a strong point of mine, mainly because I focus on it. But it's also one of the biggest reasons why humans have horrible relationships. It's just communication. It's misunderstandings a lot of time and assumptions and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Negative mindsets, limited thinking, all that. Our third is innovation, which is just the ability to change without ego. Like, don't make an excuse, just change. And our fourth is income. And income is whatever goal you put there, right? Communicating with other people in a manner in which they can absorb it, understand it. And even if I'm talking, and I do a lot of this, if you read my posts, like I will talk under the surface, like it's unconscious conversations that I'm having with you. To come back a year later and to see them only saying alignment's greater than assignment. And it's like, just let that one stick for a while and watch how, if they really are doing something, that just finds its way down into the root chakra. And they're like, I fundamentally changed my life. And I'm like, so learning how to say less and actually impact more is my goal, because I used to be the exact opposite. I used to say a lot and it didn't mean anything. I used to bore my dad and my wife to the point where I'd look over and they'd be like, they're asleep.
They didn't get it.
Right. No, I think they got more than enough of it, actually. So yeah, it is a bane to see someone making the same mistake. It's a bane for me to walk somebody up to the chasm or the bridge that they must cross with the chasm and to watch them crumble when they just told me back here about how strong and tough and alpha they are. But it's also what's fun, because it's like, well, okay, what other thing can I put in? Because you got to go across the damn bridge. I mean, you got to,
Right.
Otherwise I got to fire you.
Yeah.
Like I see the path. What can I do as a salt lick to get you to do it? And this is what I found 9 times out of 10. And it's part of why Iconic exists. Part of why you're doing what you're doing too, I bet. I have to walk across the bridge with them, and I have to have them look me square in the eyes and I go, whatever you don't, look down, look at me. And I'm just talking to them as we walk. And I see them get scared and their eyes all go like this. And I go, hey, it's cool. And I put my hand on their arm and I say, come with me. Let's keep walking. That's a God-given gift. It's not a Chris thing, because I'm compelled to want to help people get across the bridge. I just put it in an arena that satisfies my financial needs, my bigger dreams, and the things that I want to do. But yeah, communication, seeing it not work, even like amongst relationships, like my wife and I, I'll give you a good example instead of talking theory. We were having a spat, and she was going down the stairs and she said something, and I took it in the worst way possible. And I don't know what happened, but I caught myself and I said, wait. Did you mean this? Which was the exact opposite of what I just said or thought. And she said, yes, that's what I meant. 2 thoughts went through my head. Well, number one, that was a stupid way to say it. That was my defense mechanism. And the other is like, how many times does that happen? How many times do I get us into an argument because of my quick assumption of what that person meant at that? What if that person has been working on themselves for the last 3 weeks and actually doesn't think that way anymore? So communication is essential for any of us to move forward. And so few people focus on actively listening. And I catch myself doing it. So I go, well, if I focus on it and I catch myself doing it, how much do people do it that don't even consider? Because a lot of people think what I hear is real.
Yeah.
Like, I heard it. No, you heard what you wanted to hear.
Well, not only that, I mean, you're using your own paradigm, right? You're hearing it through
filter.
your ears. So it's not going to necessarily come through exactly the way the other person meant it, because they're coming from a whole different place. So definitely, like, let me just tell you what I think I just heard.
So Robin and I just printed them off. There's a book called Talk to Me Like You Love Me. I think I might have just butchered that. But anyway, inside of it, there are 98 flip cards. So I went on Amazon. I went on the internet trying to find anybody that sells the flip cards. She doesn't even have them. So there was a Quizable, whatever that is, where they had each one of those things on there. And I literally printed each one off. We went and bought a cutter and a laminator. And I've laminated all of them because when Robin and I are going to get into heated conversations, what I want us to be able to do is, instead of saying it in the heated way, like flip through these cards and, hey, I'm feeling really scared right now. Is it okay that we take a 5-minute pause? Another one in there is, you're being a bully right now. So this comes from a psychiatrist who, this is what you're really trying to say. You just said it in a really shitty way that triggered that person, and now they're going to slap you. And so I want to develop these skills because sometimes, I don't know about for you, but when I get on the other side of a really tough conversation and it's actually a good result, I grow a lot. Self-image grows, like security grows, the feeling of like I am empowered, all of those things. And I feel like there are way too many people, and I think there are way too many people that are faking it online about how awesome their relationships are and blah, blah, blah. But I think there are way too many people that are constantly being unheard. I think that's this whole revolution of everybody wanting to talk all of a sudden and get their ideas out. How about you think long enough to get a good idea out? When you've been coaching people, what have you found with limiting mindsets and misunderstanding and not being able to get them to see it? What are your techniques and observations?
Well, you must hear it as well, talking about real estate investing. Oh, my grandfather had it, and this one had it, and they couldn't do it. I can't be a landlord. I don't want to be fixing toilets at 2:00 in the morning, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just everybody has this idea. Like, first of all, it's not just fix and flip or buy and hold, okay? There's lots of ways to invest in real estate, and that's the first thing we need to talk about. But it's a lot of listening. What is it about real estate investing that's interesting to you? And then it's education. So first you listen to what all the goals are, and we agree on what the goal is. And then we understand what are your strong points. There's actually my website, if you go,
What's your website? Tell everybody.
Oh, so this is just the website for the book.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So it's EYIM for Empower Your Inner.
Okay.
EYIMbook.com.
Okay.
And on there, there's a quiz. So you just go to the quiz tab, and there's this quiz that asks you questions that will help you discover what type of real estate investing might be good for you based on your financial resources, based on, how much time you need between today and when you want to be successful, how much time you have to actually invest in working on this place or invest in whatever you're going to need to do, whatever. So yeah, just figuring out what the tools are, figuring out what the person has for assets, and then reminding them each step of the way, okay, so when we first met and we were talking about our goals, let's go back to the goals that we discussed. It's just like and it's listening. And because you can't just say, well, like, what the hell are you afraid of, right? You can't just say that to somebody. Right. Like, I thought you wanted to be rich. What the hell? Now you're giving me all this bullshit. I mean, maybe sometimes that has a place, but for the most part, it's just like the step I want them to take is too big, right? Where I think like, oh, okay, right. You saw how my mind works. Oh, good. I'll just quit my job and do this, right? So that's not everybody's personality. And that's my challenge, right? I have to say, not everybody's comfortable with just like, you can just use your IRA, just cash in, you just put self-directed IRA, go do the right. Like that's not everybody's, thing. So, okay, let's figure out what their pace is and try to make it just like a half a click faster, just like a half a click faster than what they're comfortable with, because then that becomes the new pace. And eventually, they're not going to be quitting their job and doing whatever, but it's a lot. Whenever there's an issue, it's me, right? That's the way I look at it.
Okay.
How am I not explaining this? How am I not, what did I miss along our communication path that is making this bump in the road? And then I change what I'm saying, what we're talking about. Maybe we have to take a step back, have a different conversation. So that was a really long answer. Sorry about that.
No. What do you do with an unreasonable person?
So first, like the easy answer for me is, hey, not everybody's a client.
I get it. Right? What do you do when you make the oopsie?
Yeah, like, oh, wow. Because this is something I learned. Unreasonable, asshole people have asshole friends.
Yes.
If you work by referral, you want to let them go as fast as you can. Like, see ya. So if I made a mistake, right, and the person is just a jerk, then I'm just like, you know what, I have another coach that would be really good for you. But if it's me, you know what I mean? If it's like, okay, I need to change the way I'm communicating because I'm triggering something in them that's making them lash out and be, like reactive and like, yeah, right? Okay, I need to take that in, understand why we're having that conversation, and then go back and.
Were you always like this? Or
Oh my God, no. That's such a funny question. Like, ask my family. You talk about talking at people. Oh my God. Yeah, I used to talk at everybody. I didn't want to hear anything, and I didn't need to hear anything either because I already knew everything. That's where that book came from, because I made every mistake because I didn't need to know anything. But yeah, as I've got older, like you say, age is such a gift.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like, I realize I don't know everything. I thought my parents didn't know anything, and I knew everything. And
do you remember that? I distinctly remember these stages. There's this joke about how Dad used to not be right, and now he's kind of sort of right. But I remember, and it was almost following the decades. I remember turning 30 and going, he's not stupid. Turning 40 going, he didn't give me a lot of like really in-depth advice, but boy, those few poignant things have like become found. Have you?
Yeah. I mean, so I'm very different from my parents. They're not risk takers, and I'm a big surprise, right?
Yeah.
But there are a lot of things that they foundationally gave me that I'm now really grateful to have.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think a lot of that comes from self-awareness and forgiveness and making the same exact mistakes that you judge them for. And like, dude, that was the one thing I didn't want to do, and I did it anyway. Like, I get it. How can I judge you? Yeah. And I think that's another thing that I feel we need to foster again in society a little bit is people aren't as respectful of their elders and the people with wisdom as they used to be. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do.
What do you think about that?
Well,
I mean, I'm not trying to judge people. I'm just being observant.
No, well, and why is that? Because a lot of the people who are capturing our attention are the people that are great with social media, and they're 14 years old. You know what I mean? So if you're following some online guru and they're young, and then your parents are like, you might not want to do that, then they're the old-fashioned idiots. And this person who has never been through a real estate cycle and is telling you how you should be flipping whatever, So I do think that the internet has a little bit to do with that, because there aren't that many. There are a big number more. That's really good English.
Influencers.
There are a lot more. Most of the influencers are not 50 years old, right? I mean, face it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's a lot of that. So you can't necessarily blame young people for that, but also I know this. Everybody's world has changed a lot, right? My aunt lived to be 105, and I'm sure that, the life that she started with and the life that she ended with, really different. But, legitimately, there are things that my parents in no way, shape, or form could help me with because it just didn't exist.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, it's a balance. There are young people who have a lot to offer, but, you do have to go back for the life lessons and for like how to have a good family, or how to, even if all you do is look at how they did it wrong, it's still helpful. I mean,
the thing that I've noticed, and it could just be the circle of younger people that I'm around, but there is a lot of, for lack of a better word, confidence that I don't remember quite having.
I never had.
And
but I sounded like I did, so maybe that's part of it.
To be determined. I don't know. I can't. The body, nothing gives away a tick or a tail yet. And I can't deny the fact that they're doing some amazing shit that exponentially beyond what I could have ever thought I was capable of doing at that age.
Yeah.
And I'm also wondering, it's almost like the 4-minute mile. Like, is it also permissions being given because somebody else has done it? Yeah. And I'm also, there's this, and it's not nihilistic on any level, but there's also this part where it's like, that could also destroy the earth, like untapped or unboundaried a little bit. Like, we could go off into Loopville pretty quick.
But it's the availability of information, right?
Yeah.
If you wanted to learn about real estate, you had to go find somebody who was doing it and partner with them and learn what they had to do. Now you can just listen to Bigger Pockets for 7 hours and you're an expert, right? So it's just a lot easier to school yourself than it was. So I do think that they're, they understand where to get the information, and they are just absorbing it. And the world is speeding up, and they were born in a faster world. So they probably can hear and think and, I don't know, do stuff faster than we can.
Jonah and I were talking yesterday. His generation, so he's 21, his generation is the last generation that did not have the iPhone in their hand at 3 years old. He said at 8 or 10, he kind of got an iPod with a little screen on it.
Yeah.
But they're the very last.
Yeah.
I know 3-year-olds, and I'm serious, like network friends, 3-year-olds that know how to turn it on, find the app, play the game, search stuff on the internet. 3 years old.
Yep.
So there is a neural network, and as well as whatever else is going on, but there is a neural network that the kids aren't becoming cyborgs, but they are definitely
integrated
fast. There's some things that Jonah showed me of how to, like, even with crypto, and I'm kind of like, you're making my brain hurt, man. Like, I don't understand the concept. And then they're on this Discord channel, and they're talking and how just that, and it's like they're creating economies based upon nothingness. And they all get it. And it's all based upon mining. For what? An answer to what? It doesn't matter. I don't get that either. And so it's just like this process, right? And so I think we, as people that have made some massive mistakes and are willing to communicate about them, the only thing we actually can do is just say we're here and we'd like to help if you want us to help. Because the other thing I have noticed is kids are kids. Like, they're fine until the cops call. They're fine until the friend does the thing. They're fine until they need the help. And we should make ourselves available and not be bitter and judgmental.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, I do sound like grandpa who went up to school and went to school both ways uphill.
Well, but I mean, you're not going to be schooling them about crypto, but you are going to be schooling them about fundamentals and how to, what's important and how to communicate and how to keep a good relationship and how to, like.
Yeah, I've said that to your mom once. Don't say that to your girlfriend.
It didn't go well.
Right. I not only slept on the couch, I slept on the couch in somebody else's house. Yeah, so those kinds of things. I agree.
Yeah.
If people want to get in touch with you,
come on down. Yeah. So
what's the easiest way?
The easiest way is just go on my website. So I have. All right. Of course, I have 50.
And we'll put this below because of course you do.
Yeah, and I'm not going to give them all to you because it's boring, right? ChrisMcCarron.com.
Okay.
One website. If you work hard enough, you can get everywhere from there.
You have a link tree in there somewhere to.
There's a link tree, and then also there's actual tabs that'll say, "Oh, I want to, I'm interested in real estate investing. I'm interested in the co-working space. I want to, I want you to speak. I want you to whatever. I want to buy the book, blah blah, whatever. It's all over there."
Cool. Well, thank you for taking the time to come on the show.
It's been a blast. I really appreciate you having me.
Oh, I've had a lot of fun. I'd like to have you back. Whenever you have a next thing that you're kind of like, hey, I want to go talk about this, come back because the energy is amazing. I'd like to see you at the end of the month. That'll be awesome. Introduce you to some cool people. And I love the fact that you're, I don't know how long did it take you here? Half an hour? In traffic?
Yeah, 21 minutes according to the GPS.
Okay.
Real easy, yeah.
Cool. So we're close.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have you back on the show.
Great.
Thanks,
and actually, I'm in Merrimack every Monday night for my dance class.
What kind of dance?
West Coast swing.
It's here?
Yeah. It's one exit up. Exit 12.
So, all right, sorry. So for Christmas, I bought Robin West Coast swing lessons.
Oh, yeah?
Because I was online.
Yeah.
And I see this young couple, and the music is like not quite hip hop, but it's got an amazing beat. And I see him start out in kind of ballroom moves. And then all of a sudden he spins her and then the bass hits and he goes bump, 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 bump. And then the crowd goes crazy. And I'm like, if we could learn how to have fun flowing like that, I'd do that all night long. Yeah. That looks like so much. And so in order to find this person, first I went to Nashville. You just type it in online and it's like nothing but forums. There's no websites. There's no one person that like is a coach or guru. I bought lessons up in Lebanon.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because she was. So I finally got a hold of a guy that lives in Connecticut that teaches in Boston that knew who she was because she wasn't answering her phone. Finally got a hold of her. She's like, I'll do it in my house. I'm like, okay, we'll come to see you. Not a big deal. And you're telling me. One
See, I
extra.
should have come here earlier.
Is it big group? Is it?
Oh, it's not a big group. No, I mean, how many of us are there? It depends. Maybe 12, 15 at the most. You know,
Okay.
like it's a smallish group.
At exit 10?
12.
Oh, the other way.
Exit 12. Yeah.
Where is it?
Right off the exit. Paper Moon dance.
Okay, I haven't seen it.
Yep.
Okay.
So you take exit 12, and then you take a right at the Walmart, and then you take a left at the little
Walgreens.
convenience store.
Oh, yeah.
Left at the convenience store. End of that street, there's a little strip mall or strip office park.
Okay.
It's right in there.
Okay. And it's every Monday night?
Monday night, 8:15.
For an hour?
For 45 minutes.
And do they
But
partner
they also
you?
do, yeah, you switch partners all night. And then they also do, privates. You can do private stuff.
Should you start? Because I wouldn't know what to do to begin.
You might want to start with private because we're already into like the third month of.
Yeah, so everybody's got. Yeah,
everybody knows.
I would be tripping everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, so just start off with.
So we'll do that with our lessons, and then maybe we'll do that. That's so cool that it's this close.
Yeah.
Because my other thing was we were going to go to Boston. I was like, all right, it's an hour there. Then we're probably going to have to eat dinner. Then it's like, man, that's a 5-hour commitment every week. But
tonight, if you have nothing to do, there's East Coast Swing, which is way easier than West Coast Swing in Cambridge, and it's awesome. It's a really nice group, and they do an hour lesson ahead of time, hour group lesson ahead of time, and by the end of that lesson, you'll be able to do it. You'll be dancing with everybody, and you're going to have a hell of a good time.
So I'll just talk to you. I can't do it tonight, but I'll talk to you more. Why is East Coast easier?
It's less
moves, miss technical stuff.
So the thing about West Coast is that there's like a 6 count step, and this is an 8 count step, and this is a 12 count step. So it's like, what the hell? I just feel like with East Coast,
East 4?
East is 6, but it's always the same, right? So no matter what move you would do to me, at the end, I just do a back step, and then we're right back on track. You know what I mean? It's just so much easier.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like I could teach you the step literally in like a minute and a half, and then it's just practice and learning turns and stuff like that.
So Robin would love that because Robin's hilarious. You can't stand across from her and teach her something because her brain reverses it. So everybody goes left and she goes, wow. So that's why I was like, I'm going to get her some private lessons first. She just takes her head out of it. Yeah. But what's fun is once she lets go and she just starts moving. Yeah. But that's funny. I picked West Coast first, not East Coast.
Well, you wouldn't. There's no reason to know the difference unless you've done it.
Well, what I did, so I have a friend named Gail Kraft, and I got the video, and I'm like, "What's this? I want to do that." And she goes, "Oh, that's silly. That's West Coast Swing. I know somebody you can talk to." I'm like, "Yay, let's go do that." So I'm actually really excited to get into it. Dancing is one of the things I've always loved to do it. Yeah. I've always done it, never been trained in it. Yeah. So there comes a point in time where it's like, yep, and now I'm going to do the Elaine, It is what it is. But anyway, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We'll have you back again.
Cool.
See you in the trenches, everybody. Take care.
I came from the mud. There's dirt on my hands. Strong like a tree. There's roots where I stand.
Hey friend, if you enjoyed listening to this podcast, please leave a review and subscribe to catch future casts. If you really enjoyed this episode, make sure you share it so others can benefit from it as well. I'll see you in the trenches.
Try to catch me howling at the moon.